YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about target shooting, and we're going to be talking about a different type of target shooting than the most recent video that I did. And the last video I represented a few different handguns that I felt were the best to take to the range and target shoot. Like if you were shooting paper targets, trying to hit the bullseye, you weren't in a hurry or anything like that. And I tried to show you different scenarios there when picking out different type of handguns, what works the best. Now that's the target shooting that the majority of the people on this earth do, but there is a whole world of handgun shooting at different types of firearm ranges. Now, firearm ranges have stuff where they have real life scenarios, they have instructors there that do drills, or you can just stand on a line and shoot at a paper target or something like that. But what we're going to be talking about today is doing different types of drills with an instructor, and they're these time drills, and this requires a lot of practice, and it takes certain types of firearms. They will excel over other different types of firearms. It's like anything else, folks, in life. When you whatever job or whatever task you're trying to accomplish, there's always a better tool for it. So you need to pick out your best tool for it. Now, one of the things that changed my life is I had a firearm instructor running drills, and I was doing it, and we were doing what they call the dozer drill. Now, I don't remember the exact scenario of it or anything like that. I'm not a firearm instructor, but it had steel silhouettes standing up, and you had to knock them down. And the drill was you had to have your back turned to the targets. I think there was 5 of them lined up. And when the timer goes off, you have to unholster your weapon, turn around, get on target, and see how fast you can knock down the 5. And so it ran pretty smooth and all, but I'm going to tell you what changed my life about it. So the day I was doing that, I was using a 1911 chambered in 45 ACP, and this is the 1911 that I was using. This is outfitted out for doing different stuff like that. This is a Wilson Combat, and the reason that you 1911 usually excels on this kind of stuff is the trigger. You have very good trigger control because there is going to be no better trigger than a 1911 trigger. It's just very crisp. It just works right. And everybody that's ever fired in 1911 knows it's got the most superior trigger. This one's set up with all the ambi stuff on it. And when you have a 1911, you're going to carry it in your holster in the cocked and locked form. So it's in your holster like this. When you turn around, when you draw this weapon out, it has to be intuitive for you to take off the safety and then get on target, just like this. That has to be one of the things you train with, and training always perfects whatever outcome you're trying to get here at the range. So when I was running this drill, this weapon only holds 8 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. And one of the things about this gun is it's outfitted with a mag well, like a mag shoot mag well. And what that is for is for speed loads. And when you're running drills like that, it's very, very, very important that you can be able to load these magazines very quick and very efficiently, and this helps out. So what this mag well does is when you take one of these magazines, you can see that it's empty. You're running this in, you run your drill on this thing, you drop this magazine out, and you have to have a gun that drops them out very cleanly like this. And you'll see this Wilson drops these magazines out very cleanly. You just let it fall on the ground, and you don't have to sit there and fight to find the magazine. This chute puts it up in there very quickly, and it helps out a lot. That's what these things are for, these mag wells. Now, what changed my life about this drill is I was using this particular weapon here. You notice I don't have any kind of optic on it or anything. I just have really good sights on them that I can pick up. So fiber optic front end. Usually your front sight's going to be your most important when you're doing drills like this. You don't have time to sit there and make precise shots like you want to put the tightest group together. What you want to do is knock over these silhouettes. So I turned around and I was like bam, 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 bam. They all fell. Well, there was a young lady that was running the same drill next to me, and she had something very similar to this particular gun right here, and this is a 9mm. This one holds a lot more rounds. This one's going to hold 17 rounds in the magazine, and this one's going to hold 8 rounds in the magazine. Well, she turned around. She was a really good shot. Turns around, and when she started hitting these steel silhouettes, they were not falling. It took 2 or 3 shots per silhouette, very fast, very rapidly, to make it fall. When I shot the 45, every time that I hit, now I did miss a couple times, but every time I hit, the silhouette automatically fell. So this is what made me a believer in this, and the 9mm versus the 45. The 45 just got so much more energy upon impact than the 9mm that this one wasn't doing real well at that. Now, luckily, this 9mm held like quite a bit more rounds, so you had the extra rounds to have. There's a lot less margin of error in this one here because you have a lot less capacity in them, but you do have an ability to load. You can load as many times as you want. You just got to remember that it's a timed drill. So when you do it, you know, it takes practice. Precise shooting, shot placement, everything like that really matters when you're doing these drills. But when you're using a 9mm, by the way, this is the Sig 320 Legion, and this is a great target gun. This thing's got the infused grip module that gives it that extra weight. It tames the recoil down and makes it really balance well in your hand. And if you'll notice on it, it has a large mag well in it. So same thing with these. You can get this magazines in really easy. They drop out really clear, and this gives it a way to cram this thing in there without even paying attention to it, and you always find your spot. So you use it like a guide. So very similar to the 1911 I just showed you, but this one will hold a 17 round capacity in the magazine. But just remember, when you're using a 9mm and you're doing certain types of drills, this is not going to have the power to knock over like a large steel silhouette in one shot. It will eventually get it done, but you're going to need the extra capacity. So this would be similar as like shooting something like a staccato or you know, one of these high-end 1911 platforms is a real good one, and they always have them double stacked. And the reason they have them double stacked and running 1911 is you need the extra capacity when you're running these drills. And you have your extra gear on and you carry your extra magazines, but you got to be mindful that it's going to take more shots with the 1911 to accomplish what you accomplish in a lot less shots with the 45. It's always been the case, folks. I know people don't want to believe that, but when you're running these drills, this larger caliber bullet will work a lot better because you're going to have to take less shots. You carry less ammo on you, and it always works out great. And I noticed it immediately. This was many years ago. I watched the silhouettes. They were struggling to fall, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, well, there's the difference in the 9mm and the 45. And this is why I've always gone with the 45 as a self-defense weapon. This isn't a self-defense video. I'm just telling you that was what was changed my mind that day. I saw them both in action, hitting the same weighted stainless or steel target silhouette, and they were not falling on the first shot. It usually took about 3 shots to 1 to make the same silhouette fall. And if that's a person or something like that intruding or invading your house, you know, you gotta keep that and be mindful of that. I know these people want to talk about all these ballistics and everything, but this is why I always go with the 45 over the 9mm. Not that 90mm is bad, it just does not have the energy that the 45 has upon impact. Now, another thing that people really get into today, and this is not my cup of tea, but I do understand it, is they use the optics on them. This is another 320. This is more of a compact. It's called an X carry, and it has an optic on it. Now, a lot of people can adjust to these things, and when you're doing time drills where like you want to put 2 in the chest, 1 in the head, they can pick this up very quickly, these optics. And it all comes about your eyesight and how you train with them and all that. This has never been a thing for me. I've noticed over the past 100 plus years that people have shot handguns like this with just iron sights on them and have a really good set of sights on them, and it seems like a lot easier to pick up a regular iron sight to me than to sit there and try and focus and find a dot in the middle of it. It just doesn't seem plausible. It makes the gun bulkier. But I get it. It's a new craze that people are going through, and it has to run its course. And everybody that watches YouTube videos has to bolt an optic on top of it. And I get it. I have a couple of them with optics on them too, because I'm trying to come around to it. I just haven't completely come around and been convinced that an optic is superior to iron sights. But one of the things to keep in mind, though, if you're an optic shooter, you know, you can really pick these optics up when you're shooting some of these drills. Now, all these drills that they're doing are going to be timed, so you're going to use a semi-automatic gun that has a decent amount of capacity. But the most important thing is, like, this one holds a 15 round magazine, but the most important thing is you have to be able to practice with dropping magazines out of it and loading them back in real quick and getting back on target. So when you're running these time drills, the most important thing is your gear. Your holster, you have to be very efficient with unholstering your weapon without fumbling around and dropping magazines out, and having the type of magazine holsters and belt that carries the extra magazines to be able to load these back in and not lose too much time, because it is a competition when you're doing this type of stuff. There's a whole group of people that really get into this kind of stuff and do these time drills, and it is a lot of fun, and it is a lot of just a lot of learning. You know, you can really train really well and become very efficient with shooting handguns by running these drills. Now, another one I was going to show you, which is a little bit of a wing nut one here, is this Glock right here. And I'll show you this not loaded. You can use this for some of these drills too. This is a 22 long rifle Glock. Now, this one's a little odd because it doesn't have a high capacity. It only holds 10 rounds on it. But this is a very cheap way to go out and do fast training drills with it, and you shoot it with 22 long rifle. It's the same size weapon as a 9mm, but it's a lot lighter on it. Now, this one only holds 10 rounds. It's kind of odd. You know, Glock's usually a little bit behind all the rest of these companies here, but people love them, and you got to include a Glock in almost every video, or people seem to get upset. I don't know why, but this one's kind of a cool training weapon to take out, and you can run some of the drills. Now, when you start getting in these heavy steel targets and stuff like that, this one's probably not going to get it done as quick. If you have to knock over a silhouette or run a tree around, you know, one of the little ones with the circle trees where it rotates around, this one probably doesn't get it done. But if you're doing fast drills and you just need to get hits on the steel, this will work really well. And you know, you can get tons of magazines for it, tons of ammo for next to nothing. The gun's fairly inexpensive, so a very, very good training thing. 22 long rifle can be used for lots of training scenarios, and these newer Gen 5 Glocks have a little bit of a flare on here, so the magazines really go in them pretty easy on them. They really improved that on that last generation by flaring out this frame on the bottom of it. But I figured I'd include this on it. I'll get a lot of slack for saying you can't do all these training drills with the 22, but you can, folks. You just can't do certain things. It takes a lot more shot to do it. And with this Glock here, you're kind of limited on capacity. You don't get a capacity advantage by having a 22. Now, it's 45 9mm thing. Another drill that a lot of people run is they have a tree. They'll have a pole standing up, and they'll have round rotating targets on them. And they're different colors on each side, and there'll be 4 or 5 of them, and you have to hit the right side, have them swing around. They'll change from like red to white or black to white or something like that. That's another area that I noticed that the 45 excels over the 9mm. The 45 whips them around, and most of the time with a 9mm, they'll hang up and they won't rotate all around. You'll see some of the popular YouTube guys on here shooting trees with 9mm, and you'll see they struggle to go around, and sometimes they don't. Well, that's all gonna take off of your time when you're shooting, and you're gonna have to take more shots. Luckily, you have the extra capacity, but nobody cares about capacity when you're in a competition, and it's a time competition. The more shots you take, the more time it's gonna be, and you're probably gonna lose. This is why I always choose something like a 1911 that shoots a 45. It's got a great trigger, great set of sights, usually very accurate. They're limited on capacity next to something like this, but the magazines drop out real easy, pop them back in and go. And usually you don't take so many shots anyway, because it usually gets it done on the first shot. You have to do your part and be able to aim it, of course, but that all comes with practice. But I just wanted to do a video and show you the different types of target shooting. This is a whole different world than standing at the range in front of a bench and shooting a paper bullseye and do it. It's a lot of fun. It really hones in your skills on handgun shooting, and it makes you a better shooter in general. Makes you a lot more prepared if you ever had your home invaded, or if you had to use for self-defense, if you were concealed carrying. You can practice all that stuff in these real life scenario drills. But anyway, folks, let me know what you think of these collection of weapons and what I presented them for, using them in different scenarios, and what type of shooting you do. And thank you very much for watching my video today. And you folks have a great day.